This guy. Thinking he's cool sliding in. He's out.
Safe.
You trying to get him to slide in?
Yeah, he's safe.
Turner.
All right. Thank you all for joining us here on High School Football Season Preview. As Dan Cadino and Chris Sylvester join me, we take a look at the top 10 ratings here for the high school football season, and we have a surprise appearance on the list. Vista Murrieta making it to the countdown. Your thoughts, Chris?
Well, I don't know too much about Vista's team this year. I know they graduated
because they don't really make the playoffs.
Their quarterback, Gerhardt, last year, he's on his way to ASU. But I think Vista is always an interesting team when you talk about rankings because they seem to have a pretty consistent program. It seems like they're always right there with Centennial in the Inland Division, but it always seems like Centennial has that step ahead of Vista. So it'll be interesting to see this year if maybe it's somewhat of a down year from Centennial is what we're expecting, right, Dan?
Yeah, right.
Well, not according to the rankings, though, here, Chris, because they got Centennial ranked number 9 out of the top 10, which would actually place them number 7 in the Southern section. And Centennial, while they don't have their top quarterback and their top running back, Dan, they look pretty good.
Right, they do. They always seem, and we're talking about Centennial?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. I mean, they're always good. It doesn't matter that Robert Weber graduated or Trey Watson. Despite that,
I mean, that's like 7,000 yards of offense right there. That is
still,
huge.
It seems like Coach Matt Logan always has something up his sleeve. He always has a strong running attack. And they have Cal commit Grayson Bankhead, whose father's a great coach. So that guy's technically sound, and he's going to
don't forget about J.J. Taylor.
There you go.
That short little punt returner, kick returner, wide receiver.
Boy, what is he? 5'1"?
He does it all. I think he plays safety too.
Yeah.
We saw him, compile a good amount of yards against St. John Bosco in that regional bowl game last year. So I agree. I think Centennial is going to be right there in the mix like they are every year. But if there was a year for Vista Murrieta to overtake Centennial, I think it's this season.
By the way, Centennial starts off playing Mater Dei in their first game, so tough match.
And what does Max Preps have Mater Dei ranked?
Number 1.
Uno.
Number 1.
So to play number 1 will be a great test, and it'll also set them up for future games too. Going heads up against Mater Dei will set them up for
Poly.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Oh, well, I think another interesting matchup here, guys. You talk about going right up against the best. Number 3 in the power rankings and number 2 in the Southern section is Servite. Those Friars, they're ranked number 3 overall of Anaheim, California. And, I mean, Chris, talk about playing the best right off the bat. They play Bishop Gorman their very first game of the season, something that we definitely got to take a look at.
Well,
and,
we will be there.
Yeah.
We will be there.
And to be honest, about as evenly matched a contest as any in week number 1.
Yeah, I mean, Bosco, who we cover, we will be in Vegas covering their game against Bishop Gorman later in September 26th, I do believe. It's an ESPNU game, but you'd probably want to tune in to StretchInternet.com instead.
Stretch Internet, home of the Braves.
But, I mean, Servite, a lot of hype around them coming into this season, something that they haven't been accustomed to in the last couple of years. Now, you remember 3-4 years ago, they seemed to be contending for that California State Championship year in and year out. But ever since their head coach left for Crespi, they bring in a new head coach by the name of A.J. Gass. Gets them to the second round of the playoffs last year. Tough defeat to Alemany. But this year, Travis Waller, Oregon commit. You bring back Equinamius St. Brown, who has all the big-time offers at wide receiver. They got some good defenders as well.
Jack Savage, the linebacker.
Jack Savage, great linebacker. And I believe they have
Maurice Davison.
Maurice Davison, the corner. Yeah. He picked Josh Rosen, had a pick 6 against Bosco last year. So I think this is a team that kind of used last year, I believe, 6-6 last year, but they played the toughest schedule.
Yeah,
in the
I was going to ask you about that though. 6-6 to catch everyone up to speed.
They played the toughest schedule in the nation.
They did, and
it was a learning experience because all the great guys that they have coming back this year, they're seniors. I mean, Bosco went through it the year before. Bosco went through the learning experience with the loss to Long Beach Poly in the semifinals the year before. They used their senior year to go win a national championship. Do I think Servite's good enough to win a national championship just like Bosco last year? I don't think so, but I guess we're going to see next Friday night when they take on Bishop Gorman at Cerritos College.
Yeah, that's going to be a very interesting matchup here.
If Servite is able to beat Bishop Gorman, I'm going to name them, probably national champion favorites. And Servite reminds me of this young NFL team. I mean, they got this transfer from Pauley. It's like they finally got this one player. the player they needed. They got Micah Crooms. He was a cornerback at Long Beach Poly, a lockdown guy. And so now they pick him up as a transfer.
Oh, come on. You're not talking about Seattle, are you?
No. They sort of remind me of them. They're going to.
The Legion of Boom of Service.
A young team.
That defense is going to be great.
A young team now with a bunch of seniors. Hey, they're going to compete.
It's a good mix. There's some young guys in there that are going to contribute on top of the seniors. That's what you need. That's what you saw from Bosco last year. That's what you might see from Servite this year.
Yeah, I mean, obviously they're going to be improved on the defensive end, but do they have enough offensive pieces here, guys, in order to contest right now? Because with all the guys entering their senior year, most of their starters are going to be gone after this season. I mean, is this enough talent-wise here for the Friars?
Waller is enough. The guy he's a serious D1 player going to Oregon, like you mentioned.
Commit,
yeah. I mean, if you're going to Oregon, that means you're explosive, and that's what he is.
Dare we say he might be Marcus Mariota's replacement next year when he's probably off to the NFL?
I would say yes.
You think so?
I would say yes.
I'm sure he's
going to
have
bigger.
to compete for the job.
You know, he needs to get bigger, size-wise, like muscle-wise. But hey, that's what college does.
Well, Dan, what did you think about his performance at the Elite 11?
Hey, he competed decently. He still has a few things. He's got that weird throwing motion where he sort of reminds me of Byron Leftwich's.
Okay.
But he's no Byron Leftwich as far as I think he's got the commitment and the discipline to do it.
You want to know who else throws weird?
Who else?
Johnny Football.
Johnny
Football.
Johnny.
Weird. Maybe not like Waller. I'm not comparing Waller to Johnny Football. I'm not comparing any high school quarterback I know to Johnny Football. But I think Travis Waller, if he can, like you said, Dan, fix some of those things mechanically, he can be a big-time player at Oregon.
Yeah, well, I think it's funny how these guys have so much high expectations right now for some of these guys that still need to improve. I mean, there's a lot being put on the passing clinic that have been done the last few weeks, and ironically enough, another preseason expectation I think is way too high. Whoever's in charge of Max Preps as modern day number one. What in the world is going on there? According to these rankings, though, love Eric Songheimer. He is the LA Times writer for high school, has him at number 4. A very reasonable position there for them.
Yeah, I think modern day, if I may, Dan. Sorry to cut you off there, but hey.
Don't worry.
Hey,
modern day may cut off a few teams this year.
Modern day was a team that I think surprised everyone by making it to the CIF Southern Section Championship, and they really did give Bosco a good game in the first half. I believe the score was something like 10-7, maybe 13-7 Bosco up ahead, and modern day had a 7-0 lead there for a while. They were able to shut down Bosco's offense until they got a little bit tired in the second half. I think modern day has just kind of put together that solid, like we were talking about earlier, Nick, that Notre Dame type of program. If you had to compare them to a college, I mean, prestigious school, beautiful campus, great history, a lot of alumni to come out of there and succeed in multiple sports. But you look at what they bring back, I think defensively they're going to be really good. Offensively, though, there's a lot of question marks.
There was a lot of questions last year.
They lose Justin Allen. They lose a couple of receivers, but they do bring back recently Duke commit. He's going to be an Army All-American by the name of Ben Humphreys. I don't know. You remember that
Ben
name, right?
Humphreys.
He's quite a player.
He has the talent.
Plays linebacker on top of receiver. So he's going to be a both ways Jaleel Wadood type of guy, might I say, for the modern-day Monarchs.
Just a lot bigger.
A lot bigger, and a guy that I think can make an impact first year at the Division I level. So I'm interested to see what Modern Day is going to put together in that first game against Centennial and in those first couple of games before Trinity League starts. But number 1 for Max Preps, I think that's a little too generous because, first of all, I think there's just too many question marks. Second of all, I mean, they had a good year last year, but did they have enough to prove on the field last year that they should be number 1 coming into this year? I don't think so.
Yeah, well, I mean, when you take a look not only at modern day, but just their receiver / linebacker, Ben Humphreys, he's a guy that, I mean, you look at on film, I saw this guy on tape, and he has some splash plays. Don't get me wrong. This is a guy with plenty of talent, but this goes into my next point. And, I mean, trust me, modern day, we can talk about him all night here, but when we talk about what this football team has to offer, I mean, Bruce Rollinson, a very good, what many believe to be a very good coach, but I look at him, look at his resume, his playoff record, which isn't all that impressive, and I look at this guy as being, frankly, overrated. I mean, he's had some extremely talented football teams, and I love what Malik McNorris does on the defensive end.
There you go.
Ben Humphreys as well. They have some talented pieces. Justin Allen was an amazing prospect a season ago, but, I mean, to be honest, I don't think Bruce Rollinson is the coach that can get them over the top.
Wow.
Really? That's a bold statement. You know, going back to them being ranked number 1 by Max Preps, I'm trying to figure that out, and I think I did. I'm trying to figure. I think I figured it out.
You figured it out.
Yeah, I think it's hype. Jack Lowry
Yeah.
competed so well at the Elite 11. That's hype.
That's
right.
You're on national television and you do well. Hey, that gives you brownie points, and then they bring.
But let
back,
me tell you this. Let me tell you the stats though, real quick.
Okay.
Hey, what was the team that had the worst offensive performance in the playoffs against the national champion Bosco Braves? Throwing that out there, Mater Dei. They threw up a goose egg. So, I mean, I'm telling you, Bruce Rollinson, I don't think he's all of what people expect.
Wow, that's a bold
Well,
statement.
yeah, Mater Dei, if you think back to the regular season game as well, they scored 2 points against Bosco, and those 2 points were obviously on a safety.
On a safety.
And then the 7 points they got
was
in
on a block punt.
Was on a block punt. So
They had 0 points in 2 games, I believe,
games
against the
Bosco.
Braves.
Mater Dei.
But they lose their quarterback. They lose some key they lose some key running backs as well. Iakapo's gone.
Yeah.
Justin Allen's gone. Yeah. I mean, I just don't see how they're going to improve offensively from one year to the next. Yes, I don't think Chase Forrest was all that great at quarterback, but it did earn him a scholarship to a Pac-12 school up at Cal.
Right.
And, you know, I think, like you said, this Lowry kid has a lot to prove in year one. Has to follow up.
Well, he answered a lot of
McMahon
questions at the Elite 11.
And Chase Forrest.
Right. Just a final thing on Mater Dei, because we could spend all night on Mater Dei. But you brought him up first, Nick. Malik McMorris, Trinity League defensive MVP.
Wow.
So that Mater Dei is all about defense.
I mean,
and
you had
that's why they're
T.O.T.
in every
Mariner
game.
in there, too. I mean, that's amazing how he wins over the pack. Trinity League had a number of great defensive linemen, don't get me wrong.
Right.
But, I mean, as we move on here,
Mater
number
Dei,
5,
number
Folsom.
1.
I mean, we've been talking back and forth about one De La Salle or Folsom being the 2 teams representing the North. But, guys, they have De La Salle second. The Spartans just behind the Bosco Braves we'll talk about maybe just a little bit. And then the Folsom, they have them at number 5. Is it really that big of a discrepancy between 1 and 2?
No, because it seems like it's always like that every year. De La Salle's always above Folsom,
Right.
and it's no different this year. It's perfect. It's fine. The Spartans probably will go to state again, but there is hope with Folsom. Folsom's QB is
Browning.
There you go.
And they lose
Gatorade
Chris Williams.
State Player of the Year last year. I believe he passed for over 5,000 yards in the Folsom QB last year.
Wow.
But still wasn't enough against De La Salle to make it back to state. Look, the thing with De La Salle is they're a great program. They just had a movie made about them, okay? But
Funny how they left one part out.
they did. 2013 did not make the movie. I don't know what it's called, but we got to go see it.
Yeah, we
together,
do.
guys.
Anyone who
Here's
the name of it.
Anyone who has a pulse
When
needs
the
to go see that
game
movie.
stands tall.
That's what it's called.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
well, guess who's going to be standing tall in the North this year? And I know we're not at predictions yet, but I think Folsom is the favorite up north.
Ooh.
Let me tell you why. De La Salle loses just about everything offensively. Not that they were all that great offensively.
Wow.
As Boston
Heavy
kinda
run.
exposed. A heavy run.
Hey, don't they lose Chris Williams?
They lost their quarterback, Williams. Not like Williams was a superstar or anything,
he
but
led
he was
the
a
off-
great, he was
he
a
was-
great game manager.
Yes, he
He
was.
I don't know who to compare him to, but he was
Alex
a great.
Smith?
Like Alex Smith. I think he's got
Like
the-
Alex Smith.
Just with
I
legs.
think so.
Alex Smith with
with
legs.
the legs.
Alex Smith has some legs too,
He does.
guys.
He
Yes,
does.
he does.
He does. But I think Folsom, I think if it gets to a shoot, unless De La Salle brings back a stellar defense, and they do lose a lot of great players on the defensive side as well, I think Folsom has the advantage over them. Am I picking them just yet? I think you're going to find out later in the show. But I do think Folsom has the advantage offensively over De La Salle, and I think their offense is so overpowering, and I know they say that defense wins championships. I think the offense is so overpowering for Folsom this season that I think it's going to be enough to possibly overcome De La Salle and for Folsom to finally make an appearance down here at the StubHub Center come late
Right.
December.
Well, just a quick note before we move on. Folsom starts on the road in San Diego against Cathedral Catholic.
When's that game?
That is August 29th.
Gosh, we got to be everywhere.
Yeah.
There's a lot of good opening games.
Yeah, there are.
But the best one's this Friday.
That's right.
Good opening games. But Long Beach Poly, if we talk about teams that could potentially upset, none is a bigger long shot than Long Beach Poly. 11-2 last season, and a team that seemed to be just one step too slow and just 1 second too late, guys. But is this a team we can look at?
Well, let's start off by saying this is America's most famous football program. Long Beach Poly is, and they bring in Coach Antonio Pierce, Super Bowl champion. So I think their defense is.
Don't forget TJ.
That's right. So this defense is already good. They're always good. Now with Pierce, a defensive mind. Oh my God, they're going to be shut down this year.
Didn't they have? I know you covered them last year, Dan. Didn't they have a streak in the Moore League where they had held opponents scoreless until like a measly garbage time touchdown?
Exactly. It was I think 7 straight games. And finally Milliken in the fourth quarter with 3 minutes left, they rush in for a 2-yard touchdown, and then the Milliken crowd goes nuts because they knew what was at stake. They knew that streak was either going to continue or stop right there. But yeah, Long Beach Poly, don't be surprised if they end up in the regional final with Bosco. Or maybe,
wow.
Yeah.
I think not the regional, the Southern Section
there you
Championship.
Go. There you go. The Southern Section Championship.
That's the game
Pac
before
5,
state.
Right? The Pac-5?
Pac-5 Championship.
That's where they could meet up and clash.
Yeah, I think that's a very real possibility. I think, Dan, you talk about bringing in Antonio Pierce, but you look at them offensively. Josh Love, I know not to get you started on Josh Love because we'll be here all week, not just all night. But I think Josh Love is a very good quarterback. He's going to finally get the pressure off of his shoulders. He's not going to have to platoon with Tiedemann, who graduated. Raul Lara, he's gone.
Gone.
Who knows? I know you probably know. You don't want to reveal your sources or anything, but I know you probably know that Raul Lara wasn't the biggest fan of Josh Love or wasn't the biggest supporter of Josh Love. It showed with his playing time last year. But you have Calhoun, who's a Division I prospect at running back. They have an Alemany transfer that came over. I think he plays both ways. And Iman Biggie Marshall, the best corner, hands down the best cornerback in the nation.
Wow.
In the nation.
Yeah.
ESPN rankings prove it as well. Okay. Not that they're always right. We were talking about that earlier today.
Why don't we let them know just one more time? Khalil Mack, guys, was unranked. He was a 2-star recruit coming out of high school.
Well,
that is fascinating.
Hard work in college. But getting back to Long Beach Poly real quick. Iman Biggie Marshall, a straight athlete. A guy that reminds me a lot of Juju Smith. Maybe not receiving-wise, but definitely on the defensive side. He's going to play both ways.
That's right.
Who knows if they're even going to need to pass the ball to be victorious with that defense. You score once, and you might feel really confident about your chances. That's how good Long Beach Poly's defense is going to be this year.
Right.
Is it good enough to, get them to the state championship game in the Open Division? I doubt it. I really do. But, if they can, kind of put something together over there and build something consistent throughout the year, maybe go undefeated in the regular season. That's a real possibility. They only have a couple of tough games before the Moore League starts, and they should breeze through the Moore League.
Right.
I think Long Beach Poly has a chance to do some big things come Pac-5 playoff time.
You bring up a good point. Do they have what it takes? That's a question mark. Josh Love still has to answer the questions. He finally takes the full-time starting position. He's never had that. So let's see if he takes advantage of it finally. Still up in the air. Again, Antonio Pierce is not an offensive mind. He's a defensive mind.
Right.
His whole career, he's all defense. And then
that's why they brought T.J. Hushmanzada along.
That's right. That's probably why they did.
But, let me get my 2 cents in real quick. T.J. Hushmanzada is not a guy that's going to revolutionize their passing attack by any stretch. He was a great guy for Cincinnati.
Yeah, he was. He was good with Cincy.
Yeah, as we take a look overall, there are some amazing teams in the entire top 10 that he's going to have to deal with. Starting with number 10, Chaminade, as we look at these rankings presented by Eric Sonheimer, writer for LA Times. Number 9 is Centennial. We didn't talk a whole lot about them, the Huskies. Our thoughts, basically, this is a team that could have a chance to contest. There's probably about 5 teams in the southern section, and Centennial is one of them to contest for that right to go to the state championship. Alemany out of Mission Mission Hills is another team. I don't think they have all of the pieces there.
Possibly, yeah.
Number 7, Sarah out of Gardner, who went 13-1 last year. I don't think they have the pieces.
They lose too
as
much.
well.
Dory, Jalen Green, a couple of other guys.
They're gonna have a tough time.
They're gonna put together. They're like Bosco. They're always gonna get kids wanting to go play football at their school. It's a private school. Sarah. But and they have a long list of alumni: Robert Woods, Marquise Lee, notably.
I think it's similar to modern day if you really think about it. They get the talent, but can they put it all together every year?
I feel like they have an easy schedule.
They do.
So that's why
who does Sarah play in the non-conference?
Well, they go against Narbonne. I know that for sure. I mean, that's a city section.
City section's a big step
week
down.
Week one, they host Lakewood before they play Carson, Narbonne.
Lakewood's been down for a couple of years.
They're going to go up against
Maybe you talk
two
about
city
Lakewood
section
3 or
teams.
4 years ago, that's a big game. But no,
yeah.
I just I don't like their schedule.
Yeah, we could read who number 1 has to face coming up in just a second. Number 6 is Long Beach Poly. Number 5, you have Folsom, one of the 2 teams out of the north there for California high school football. Number 4 is Mater Dei out of Santa Ana. 3rd, Servite. Those Friars have a real good opportunity to get over the top. This is their year, guys. I mean, they have a number of guys entering their final year,
or break year for
at Servite.
If they can't get over the hump, it might take them a couple more years to get back.
Number 2, De La Salle might be the same thing. I mean, this is their opportunity. Yeah. And then number 1, guys, we could talk about this, but first and foremost, I mean, why don't we take a look at that schedule real quick? St. John Bosco, the defending national champions.
That's right.
They face, I mean, we're going to go to Hawaii coming up in less than 12 hours, guys, as it's
really?
St. John Bosco and St. Louis, the second-ranked team right now, according to Scoring Live, something we can count on for all things scores out of Hawaii. The Crusaders, we're going to play them in a couple of days.
Right.
Interesting matchup to start the season. Then you play Bishop Gorman, top team in Nevada, also the top team in Oregon as well.
Toughest schedule in the country?
Yeah,
many people
possibly.
regard it as.
I mean, I would
think
say
so.
yes.
When you throw in the
right
Trinity
behind-
League,
Centennial has a really tough schedule as well, but they don't
they don't play the Trinity League. That's
true.
They don't play the Trinity. They play Modern Day.
Trinity League reminds me
That's
of
gonna be very
SEC
interesting.
football, bro. It's
Trinity League's the toughest.
it's probably the toughest, man.
Year out, year in and
But
year out.
does SEC have any sort of academic standards? Now that's another
Trinity League does.
That's
Trinity
another
League
thing
does.
for another day.
You gotta be.
Well, what about Josh?
Would you
Rosen?
say? Oh, would you say Nick Saban is Bruce Rollins? Okay. All right. So, anyways, guys, St. John Bosco, they have their quarterback and running back, and actually, Sean McGrew was ranked the sophomore player of the year, according to Max Preps. Is he enough to get over the top?
I believe so. I think offensively, they're not going to score as many points as they did last year. And
Are you sure?
And in talking to Josh Rosen, he thinks so as well. He thinks. Last year, if you might remember, a lot of the games Rosen was out of the game by the third quarter because it was a big time blowout.
Right.
This year, Rosen told us personally at what was that, the Edison passing tournament?
That's right.
About a month ago, a little bit over a month ago, that he thinks that yes, his team has a legitimate chance to repeat what they did last year, but it's not going to be as easy. You look what they lose. Shea Fields is off to Colorado. He's supposed to be a starter over there in his first year. Jaleel Wadud was the California State Player of the Year, or the Southern Section Player of the Year, over Dory Jackson, over Juju Smith.
That's amazing.
That's amazing, right?
Yeah.
What a player he was. You talk about a couple of other guys, Damian Mama, Emery Seppo.
They
off
lose
the
10
line.
out of their 11 defensive starters.
And
that
then
is
defense
amazing.
as well, but if we want to talk about offense right now, I think Rosen and the offense, yes, they're going to score a lot of points. I think they're going to score a lot of points Friday. They're going to score a lot of points against Norwalk. But when they see a good defense, that's what I'm really interested in.
They face two state champions.
Two, you're right.
Yeah, two state champions.
In Oregon and Bishop Gorman. So
That's right.
maybe if Central Catholic, which is the Oregon team, maybe if they can pose a threat defensively, that's what I'll really be interested in seeing. But Josh Rosen, I think he'll be improved from last season. A lot of people think his receivers really helped him out on a lot of screens. Maybe he won't get as much yardage as last year, but I expect him to be a little bit more accurate. If you remember, Nick, last year when we were covering Bosco, he kind of went through that stretch at the beginning of Trinity League play where he wasn't as accurate with the football.
We were talking about the backup, and you never want to do that.
Yeah, and we talked, actually, at one point, he got pulled in the second quarter of a game for Andrew Katnick to come back in. Sean McGrew, a lot of people were saying last year that it's all the offensive line. That's the only reason he's finding these gaping holes and finding his way through. I think Sean McGrew is a legitimate running back.
Right.
I think he's a national recruit. I think he's big time. I think Sean McGrew is going to have another impressive junior season.
Good.
And wide receiver-wise, who are they going to replace Shea Fields with? Who are they going to replace Jaleel Wadud with? Jared Harrell, Anselm Ume, just a couple of the guys. Kalen Franklin, he's a senior as well. These guys were all waiting in the wings. These guys were all mentored by the Shea Fields and Jaleel Waduds of the world. This is their time to shine. They killed it freshman year. They killed it JV. Obviously varsity is a big step up.
It is. I mean,
Trinity
the
League
top
play.
guy only had 5 catches the entire season last year.
But I really think after going through an entire offseason, working with Rosen, working with Chad Johnson, the offensive coordinator, I think these guys will be in sync. The receivers won't be as well, as good, should I say.
Yeah.
A lot of people say, well, good.
That's fine.
That's the same thing, right?
Yeah.
Did you take any English or not?
I didn't. But I do think that, even though the receivers won't be as good of athletes as the receivers on last year's team, I think they're still going to get the job done. Rosen's going to find them. Bosco's going to score a lot of points Friday.
I almost feel like they should become a running team because they have another massive offensive line this year. So
Right.
yeah,
They
they lost Damian Mamas. That's fine because they have 6'4", 290 pound Matt Kacknick. And
I thought
they
you were
also
gonna
have
say
Zachary
Zach
Robertson, 6'5", 300 pounds.
Do we
Hey,
need to play the clip? Do we?
no, let's not. We'll save that for Friday. We've got a clip where Zach Robertson actually helps us out a little.
He does.
Yeah.
He'll
Good
help
guy.
out Bosco a lot. But one thing that I am saying here, though, guys, sure, it'll be harder for them to score points, but because of all the talent leaving St. John Bosco, their entire secondary that started last year is gone. But mind you, they do bring in some amazing talent, especially a Trayvon Beck, also DJ Morgan as well. So that defense, I don't think is going to take a huge step back, but they're not shutting out offensively 3 teams like they did last season. So I think overall, this is a team that's going to have to score more points. Do you think 104 touchdowns based off of last year, is that reasonable given they play 16 games?
They had 104 last year.
104 touchdowns, 53 rushing
I don't think they
touchdowns.
could do that.
Because they played a way easier non-conference schedule last year.
That's true.
Like you said, Dan, this is
Yeah, read off the schedule
This
for
is
me.
probably
Yeah, I will.
the toughest schedule in the nation. Last year, you faced a Dominguez team that
Right.
you knew you were gonna just go out there and destroy. You faced Clovis North, you beat them 48-0. You ended up putting 52 points on Chandler, which at the time was the number 2 team in the state of Arizona.
And
Gave Bosco a good battle in the first half, but after that it was game over. And then you look at the Crenshaw game where Bosco hung up 75 points. The first 2 Aguara Hills and Tesoro in the playoffs. That was a joke of a game, both of those games. Alameda, you can throw them in there as well. Bosco put up, I think, 52 points in that game. So I think Bosco's going to find it tougher, not only because of the schedule, but because they're not going to be as good offensively. I think look somewhere in the 90-95 range for touchdowns this year.
To be honest, I think offensively they're fine. It's just on the defensive end. It's not going to be nearly
I
as
think they're
easy
fine
for this
offensively
team
as well, but they're not going to put up the
be some
numbers they
holes.
did last year offensively.
And Shea Fields, one of a kind. I mean, there is no replacing a guy like that.
Tied the school record in the first round of the playoffs for receiving yards.
In the playoffs.
How about the
playoffs.
game of the year, in my opinion, against Bishop Gorman?
Yeah.
Bosco
when Bosco
and Gorman.
goes up there.
Out to Vegas.
Yeah.
We go.
Some affiliates, some media outlets have Bishop Gorman number 1, guys,
Wow.
in the nation. So a number 1 against a number 1, pretty much.
Yeah.
And
Number 1 potentially this year versus last year for sure. I mean, Bishop Gorman, what makes them so
that
good,
could be a
though?
mini national championship game right there.
Right. I mean, that's why it's on ESPN. But it's also
On
not
Stretch
just
Internet.
on then, it's on
Stretch
Stretch
Internet.
Internet. So to give you quick details, ladies and gentlemen, here, again, thank you for joining us. We're going to be simulcast this year on StretchInternet.com. Make sure to go to Eric Sonheimer's LA Times page, along with our Twitter page, along with any sort of
Twitter,
site that we
at
have.
SJB Broadcast. Give us a follow. We
Right.
give great information on there. We post the links to all our games. We try to give you up-to-date news before anybody else on Bosco players and other teams around the Trinity League, right, Dan?
That's right.
And follow us at SJB
Listen to the
Broadcast.
entire season. It's not going to be an opening month that put people to sleep like it was last year.
Yeah.
There are some serious ball clubs that they're
competition.
facing, and we could potentially have some games that actually go into overtime this year. I mean, it could just be that close of a contest. I mean, Bosco hasn't been within sniffing distance of overtime in a number of years. I think you have to go back to like 2012 or 2011 to have a game that goes into OT. So as we wrap it up here, guys, again, thank you for joining us here on Spreaker. Predictions.
Are we doing predictions?
What I want to do here,
let's do
guys,
Do predictions?
of the top 10 teams that play opening day, we're going to start with, I think we've already touched on it earlier. Number 1, Bosco taking on St. Louis, the Crusaders, the number 2 team according to scoring live in the state of Hawaii. I mean, is that a game that St. Louis has a chance in?
I don't think so.
No.
St. Louis does not have a chance. And the only reason I'm saying that is because week 1 for them, they got blown out. I mean, they had the sophomore quarterback come in and do way better than their Marcus Mariota mentored quarterback. What's his name?
Ryder Coons.
Ryder Coons was epic fail probably is what I would want to say.
Wow.
On week 1.
Straight
So
up.
Bosco would just run them over. I don't know. What are you thinking, Chris?
Well, Tua Tagovailoa had 5 touchdowns.
Tagovailoa. It's going to be a tough one to pronounce.
That's going to be
all night
fun
long.
just to pronounce, but
But, yeah, he did good. I think five
Five
TDs,
touchdowns.
no picks.
Wow.
200 yards.
He also ran the ball
Yeah.
adequate. You like that word?
Yeah.
He also ran the ball adequate as well. I think he's more of a project.
did you pass English, Chris?
He did.
Did you even graduate high
He
school?
got a C minus.
70.1.
The 70.1. Slipping by, which is, I think, what St. John Bosco is going to have to do this year. They're going to have to sneak by
I
some
thought you were going to
opponents.
say week 1, slip on by.
But week number 1 for De La Salle, they face a team in Levi Stadium. They go to Levi Stadium in Santa Clara.
Awesome.
Amazing. But they play Jesuit of Carmichael. I think we can all agree that's a victory. So
Jesuit.
going up to number 3, Servite, ranked the second best team in the Southern
There we
section.
go.
They
Don't make
open
me
up
pick
the
that.
season.
Don't make me.
Open up the season, do the Friars against Bishop Gorman at Cerritos College. Guys, your thoughts?
Well, I'm only going to say Bishop Gorman because they've got the home field advantage. If it was at Servite,
No, it's at
It's at Cerritos College.
Oh, it's here.
Dan, we're going to the game next
Oh,
week,
that.
buddy.
Hey.
Hey,
He's
we
late,
might
he's
actually.
late.
I
I
threw a
get it.
curveball at you guys. And
Hey,
you
we're going
guys
to be
hit it. All right,
broadcasting.
good job.
Hey, we're going to be bringing that game to Spreaker, by the way.
Are we?
Are
We should. We should actually.
Why
we
not?
Should, we should post up and
Really?
do that. Yeah.
Why not?
Yeah, I would. I would.
You would?
But
Dan's
yeah,
good at
well,
posting
okay.
it.
So now I'm switching it. I'm changing my mind. I don't care what you guys say. I'm going with Servite because they're at
Servite.
home.
Okay,
Wow.
You're only allowed to make one prediction per show.
We asked for one prediction.
Okay.
You had one job.
All right.
but that's fine.
Servite.
I think.
I got Servite as well.
Yeah.
Wow.
I think, but it could go either
I
way.
think you
mean,
guys
we're not betting here. I'm not losing any money by picking Servite, so I'll pick Servite.
I think you guys are reading too much into the Friars right now, who went 6-6 last year, guys. And I mean, sure, the talent is there, but I don't think Hype is going to win in the non-conference slate. Maybe later on in the season, I think there is a real legitimate shot for those guys, but they're just getting into the fold. I picked Bishop Gorman over Servite, and
We will be there.
I'll be more than happy
We
to
will be
rub
there.
it in your face. So number 4, Modern Day of Santa Ana. They begin the season with the Mission Viejo Classic. They take on
Whoa.
Centennial
Wait, that's
of
the first
Corona.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wait, I thought Mission Viejo Classic last week was.
They're at the Vicious. Well, they play Centennial here, number 9 Centennial,
Yeah.
to begin the season.
in Mission Viejo.
Really?
Yeah. At the Mission Viejo Classic, August
Right.
the 30th.
Wow,
August
that got
Yeah.
pushed up.
Yeah, it did.
Gosh, I didn't know that. We will be there. I think,
Number
as well.
4, Modern Day.
be
Number
there.
9, Centennial. Opening statement here for the Huskies.
Mater Day. All the
Mater
way
Dei.
on that one.
All the way.
The Huskies have to replace Trey Watson, and and Robert Weber. So
Yeah, it's a little too big
much.
of a hill to climb.
Yeah.
Number
I got
5.
one today as well, if you wanted to know my opinion. Pass me
We
every
did.
time.
Chris, can you shut up? So we're to begin the season, Cathedral Catholic of San Diego. They take on Folsom. Your thoughts on that?
Oh wow,
matchup.
that's a great game.
The
because-
top of the
because,
San Diego
it's
section.
so hard because there's such a discrepancy between NorCal football and SoCal football when you talk about high school. You know,
Right.
De La Salle plowed over every single team in Northern California, and yeah, they gave St. John Bosco a good game in the state championship. But if it wasn't for a bunch of those penalties, I
Right.
think that's a game Bosco wins by 2, maybe 3 possessions.
Right.
And I think there's some other teams down
There
here in
were
the
there
southern
wasn't just
section that
first
could've
downs
contended with
called
De La
back.
Salle
There
as
were
well.
like 3 touchdowns that were called back in that one.
Yeah, so, gosh, I know Cathedral Catholic was a big spoiler last year. They went in and beat Vista.
they
They
were a
did.
top 25.
They were a top 25
throughout
team.
the season.
But I like Folsom a lot. I like what they. I think you heard me talk. You heard me talk about Folsom earlier.
Folsom.
I'll take Folsom in
Me
that
too.
game.
I'm
but
going
It'll be a Folsom. It'll be a close game.
Jake Browning, who's headed to Washington, will lead Folsom.
Monster
Yeah.
beast.
Number 6, Long Beach Poly. Talk about beast. Iman Marshall. They will lead Long Beach Poly. They begin the season, against
Crenshaw.
L.A. Crenshaw to kickstart the season. And, guys, I think it's a unanimous vote from here.
Yeah.
Long Beach Poly.
All right, let's move on. Poly.
That was a close game last year.
Was it really?
Yeah, it came down to the fourth quarter.
Oh, that's right. It went down.
Crenshaw. And
Yeah.
but that's when we didn't know about Josh Love. And that was with Raul Lara, not Antonio
That's right.
Pierce.
That was the first game of the season, wasn't it?
And Crenshaw graduated their quarterback to SC. So
That's right. I forgot his name, but
bye Crenshaw. Week 1.
Do we know Josh Love?
Josh Love.
You know
is
his
the
name.
Truth.
yeah, Josh loved the truth.
The truth.
The
Josh,
truth is,
the truth, love.
the Sarah Cavaliers will begin the season with a win. They take on Lakewood
Yeah,
to kickstart this
Easy,
one at a
Sarah.
neutral site.
Sarah.
So they've got Lakewood, Carson, and Narbonne. Come on, man.
3-0 with the cherry on top.
Yeah.
With the
3-0.
cherry on top.
All right.
Oh, Alamany, the Chargers. They host Los Osos of
Wait,
Rancho.
I thought Alamany's the Warriors.
The Warriors. Mission Hills.
Oh,
Alamany. Yeah.
wait.
The Chargers gave them a real tough contest
they're-
at
it's
St.
not
John
Alamany.
against St. John Bosco.
Aren't they
it's
the
not. Wait.
Warriors?
Alamany's the Warriors. If we're talking about the
Of
Alamany
Blake
that Bosco
Green.
played.
Deshaun Holmes.
Yeah, that's out. They're
Those are the Warriors.
There must
Excuse
be a
me.
typo. Is there a typo?
No, there was no typo.
You thought it was.
I just where are the Chargers this year?
the Chargers? That's Agora Hills.
Agora Hills.
Remember that Agora Hills?
Where are them?
Sean Barr. They were bad. Bosco beat them like 69-24. They were like the
Bosco
16
beat everyone
they were the
69
lowest
to
seed in the
24.
Pac-5 playoffs last year.
They
How about this matchup here, guys? Chaminade at Hart. Ooh.
Chaminade and Hart. Ooh, Brad Kaya. Brad Kaya's old school. Brad Kaya actually is going to start at Miami. I do believe.
Is he?
I think so.
Wow,
I was
that's
reading
great.
the other day he might platoon. That's big time for Kaya.
It is.
Kaya was underrated last year. We saw him at the Semper Fi game.
Yeah.
He did pretty well.
He did very good, actually.
Miami, dude. How about that? Going from Chaminade to the U. But I'll pick Hart in that game because I like their QB. Forgetting
Brady.
his name.
Brady White.
Brady White. Hart.
Because,
didn't Hart win CIF last year? Didn't they beat somebody? They beat Chaminade? No, not Chaminade. They beat somebody.
we're thinking long and hard about this,
That
but
was
because we specialize in St. John Bosco, I do want to throw this out there in the final few minutes here. Trinity League. It's always the toughest league in basically in the country. And your guys, if there were 3 teams that get in out of that league, who are they?
Deserves to be more
Bosco,
than 3.
Servite, Mater Dei.
Right? But I think Santa Margarita, KJ Costello, who's getting a lot of national attention, their QB. I think Santa Margarita's a player for the playoffs. I think it's finally the year that Jay Serra gets in, hopefully. They should
Really?
have been in last year. And
That's true.
they're 7-3
We were
team
talking about
last
them.
year.
Yeah.
They went 2-3 in Trinity, but it's Trinity. You know?
They won 2 games out of that.
Yeah. And Olu.
Oh, Lou.
Oh.
No, we
Orange
pay no
Lutheran.
attention to Olu.
If they can beat Vista Marietta,
What are they ranked? Let's check.
Olu.
I think they're-
Olu.
They've got to be a
Olu
top
has
25,
Keyshawn
right?
Lucier
Yeah.
South, who I think is like the best D end in the nation. He's a beast. Did you see that guy against Bosco last year?
looking like Jadavian Clowney.
Exactly.
He is.
I love Keyshawn.
Yeah,
Richards
let's take a look at that,
play.
Dan. The rankings, and also I'm going to love that game when they take on Vista Marietta.
Yeah.
Olu and
Too
Vista.
bad we're gonna
Let's
be in
find 'em.
Vegas.
Okay.
If we were not in Vegas, we'd be there.
We'd
All
be
right,
there.
let me read 16 through 30.
30.
All right, here we go. All right, at 16, Hart. That makes sense. Clovis North, 17.
I think Hart's a little low, don't you think?
Well, they don't have an imposing defense that allows them to compete with the better teams of the CIF. They do have the quarterback and the wide receiver to do it. What's his name? Brady White. He throws to Trent Irwin. There you go. Trent Irwin's a beast. I mean, the guy had 76 catches, over
We saw him at the
1,400.
passing tournament.
Yeah.
He did very well against
Over
Boston.
1,400
Right.
yards, 19 touchdowns. Trent Irwin. That's pretty beasty right there, man.
Right.
Again, number 17, Clovis North.
Wait, did we figure out what Olu was?
Let me scroll down.
Not get off topic.
Yeah.
Gosh, Dan.
Yeah.
I said gosh, Dan, by the way.
Yeah.
Dan.
Dan.
D-A-N.
D-A-N.
Hey, you
Dan
know
the
what?
man.
They're not even in the top 30, guys.
Wow.
That's-
Olu.
They will be. That triple option, nobody knows how to stop that in high school football.
I mean, for a quick second, Sandy is blind because Olu is a team. I mean, name 25 through 30 on there.
I
okay.
I don't think I can name 25 teams better than Olu.
30 teams,
Southern
actually.
It's California.
Jeez.
All right. Well, let's do starting at 25. Jay Serra of San Juan
Olu's better
Capistrano.
than them, don't you think?
Yeah. And why is Grant of Sacramento here?
Who?
Valley Christian of San Jose. Upland.
All right,
Helix.
no, that's disrespectful towards the Trinity League.
Yeah, it
Right.
is. Yes, it is.
You should put Trinity League
All right, let's
about
see if they're
1
in the
through
31
5
through
right there.
50. They've got to be here. All right.
If he just forgot, then that makes sense.
forgot.
Put him
Might
in
have
where.
forgot.
Yeah.
Wow.
We
I'm
forgot too. We
scrolling.
didn't talk about Olu until
Wow,
just now.
Narbonne is in rank 41, and I still have not found Olu. Santa Margarita, 45.
That's disrespectful.
Wow.
Here we go. Orange Luther, number 48. How about that,
Who's
guys?
47?
Wow.
47? Corona Del Mar, Newport.
I think Olu would beat
well,
Corona Del Mar by like 50.
Corona Del Mar last year went 16-0
It's 16-0
in
and
the
what?
Division 3.
Olu could have gone
Olu.
17-0 in Division 3.
And they only played 16 games. They would have
Right.
won twice. Jeez.
Well,
Well, that is that. Olu, what do they say about Olu? Some of the weaknesses there, I'm sure they just completely
can't
hate.
pass.
I'm sure they think Lucier South has no talent. We're just-
Apparently not. That's too bad.
Yeah, they're just saying it's unfortunate that they play in the Trinity League, which is their biggest weakness, right?
Their weakness is who they play. Interesting.
Dude, they competed against Long Beach Poly. They
did. They should have
barely
won that
lost.
game.
They should have.
should've
Olu
won
was such
that
a
game.
fun matchup when we played them, St. John Bosco.
Olu had the lead over Bosco at the half last year.
They
Wow.
did. And they ran something like 300 yards on the
because they
ground
run the
last
triple
game.
option. They just run the ball down your throat.
Yep.
Shoot.
I mean, that basically is the disappointment of the century, guys. But we're going to wrap it up here. Thank you
wrap
all
it
for
up.
joining us here on the high school football season preview. It's no longer going to be a preview in a matter of hours here. We're going to take on does St. John Bosco, the number 1 team in the nation. It's the St. Louis Crusaders, ranked number 2 in Hawaii. And it all starts this coming Friday night at 10 p.m. Local Standard Time, Pacific, and it's 7 p.m. Hawaii Standard Time. Thank you all for joining us as we're going to call it a night from Los Angeles. And coming this Friday, not only on Spreaker, but Stretch Internet, it's Bosco taking St. Louis.
I swear it feels like the last few nights. We've been everywhere and back, but I just can't remember it all. What